The movie starts in a futuristic setting where a nuclear plant is on the brink of a meltdown. Two frantic scientists find themselves trapped in the operations room, and their task is to override the system. But they face a dilemma. There are only two buttons on the backdoor control, yellow and blue, and they're unsure about which one to press. As tensions rise, a mysterious man named Fox suddenly materializes in the hallway, and he urges them to press the yellow button. Confused and skeptical, they question him, and Fox claims that he's a time traveler. To prove his point, when shown a manual written in Cantonese, Fox zips back in time and mistakenly brings back a Chinese man. Apologizing, he returns the man to his own time and comes back with news. He's consulted the plant's designer and they must press the yellow button. But before they can act, the police that control time travelers, the Time Brigade, show up. They insist that Fox is a terrorist and instruct the scientists to press the blue button instead. With faith in the authorities, the scientists press the blue button, and for a split second, there's a relief as the alarms quiet down. But their celebration is cut short when the plant explodes, causing mass destruction. The scene then shifts to present day, and we're introduced to Gilbert, who's proudly presenting his new nuclear plant project. From the sea of listeners, a familiar face challenges him, and it was Alice, Gilbert's very own daughter. She questions the wisdom of using outdated technology for the plant, arguing about its implications for the community. As she and her friends create chaos, security intervenes, escorting them to a nearby police station. At the station, Gilbert arrives, and Alice's friends are stunned to discover the influential man is her father. The ensuing scene in Gilbert's car is tense, and they debate the ethics and safety of his nuclear plant. But when Gilbert makes an insensitive remark about Alice's deceased mother, she's had enough and she demands the car to be stopped and walks away, leaving a profound silence in her wake. After the previous events, Alice gets a call from her friend at the station, and the friend pressures Alice to steal some crucial files from her father, Gilbert's computer. And she's also blackmailed with a threat. If she doesn't do what they say, they'll expose her by releasing a video showcasing how she's actually Gilbert's daughter. In the quiet of his home, Gilbert watches old videos of his deceased wife, Alice's mom, and lost in memories, he moves upstairs, and this provides Alice the perfect chance. She quickly slips inside to get the files, however, she runs into Fox. And before Fox can explain himself, Alice, in panic, hits him with a wine bottle and knocks him out. And suddenly, her father appears, and seeing Fox unconscious on the ground and learning of Alice's intent, he threatens to call the police. But their confrontation is interrupted by the Time Brigade storming into their home, and Fox, regaining consciousness, warns that the planet will soon face doom if Gilbert's plant becomes operational. A chaotic fight ensues, and the Time Brigade starts firing, and Gilbert gets injured. In the midst of the chaos, Fox, Alice, and Gilbert find themselves transported to a bleak future post the plant disaster. The sight is so horrifying that Alice actually faints. And in a twist, we're taken to the Time Brigade's headquarters, and their leader, Constance, is furious. The officers screw up their mission, leading her to appoint Luis as the new head of the team, replacing the former leader, Mateo. Constance underlines the gravity of the situation. If Fox alters the future, it could shatter the space-time spectrum. Elsewhere, Alice awakens in an unfamiliar room. She meets Ralph, a member of a group dedicated to saving the future, and he paints a picture of how the world has drastically transformed. Alice is desperate to leave, but Ralph insists that they discuss it with his team in their lab. Once there, Fox grants them the choice to go if they wish, but the moment Gilbert opens the door, he's met with a terrifying sight as he sees zombies. Slamming the door shut in horror, the group learns from Dr. Henry, the leader of this future's resistance, that radiation from the plant turned people into these monsters. The blame is placed squarely on Gilbert's shoulders for his cost-cutting construction of the flawed plant. Gilbert's not sure if what he's seeing is real, and to prove it, they show him a giant storm. This storm moves around the earth, and whoever touches it dies. Gilbert is shaken, and just when he starts to understand, Fox pulls out a gun, wanting to end Gilbert's life. Alice, in tears, begs for her father's safety, and she promises that they can find another way. And seeing all of this, Gilbert faints because at the moment he was incredibly stressed. In the meantime, Ralph comes up with a plan. He suggests that instead of killing Gilbert, they can try to change how he thinks so that they stop him from building the plant in the first place. And hearing this idea, everyone agrees. And soon, the Time Brigade also shows up in this future, and they're searching for the gang. They get information about the gang's location by killing a man, and inside a van, the gang and Alice are talking. They're trying to find a way to change Gilbert's mind, and Alice feels lost. She says that her mom, who died when she was born, was the only person who could reach her father. And wanting a break, the group goes to a bar. It was a strange place, and Gilbert and Alice try to chat with people, but everyone seems odd in their own way. As Gilbert listens to the stories of the people at the bar, he starts to feel different. The strange tales seem to take away any kindness that he had left, and he decides that he wants the Time Brigade to find him, and he hopes that they will take him back to his own time so he can finish his project. An argument starts between Gilbert and Alice is upset that Gilbert doesn't want to change. In her frustration, she shouts to the whole bar, and she tells them that they will die when a big storm comes, and that's all because of her father, Gilbert. But with a smooth move, Gilbert buys everyone drinks, calming them down. Laughing and chatting, they leave the bar, but poor Ralph and Fox are left behind, stuck with the bill. At the gang's secret place, the Time Brigade shows up, and they plant bombs on the doors to get inside. But Henry was quick, and he sets a bomb that will blow up the whole place and dashes out the back door. Fire chases him as he runs, and it was a close call, but Henry escapes the flames. The Time Brigade, however, is also fast, and they dodge the fire and start looking through the hideout. Outside, Gilbert and Alice are in big trouble, and zombies see them and start chasing them. The two run as fast as they can, but they end up stuck with the zombies closing in, and just when it looked very horrible, Fox and Ralph jump in to help. Fox tries to use his time machine to move them all to a safer time, but there was a problem as the machine's battery was low. And suddenly, a new face shows up. It's Weasel, who's Fox's buddy. And she's not alone, and she's brought many of her kids who are ready to fight. The kids jump into action, pushing back and chasing away the zombies, and Weasel leads the group to her home, where a young nurse takes care of Gilbert's wounds. And back at the destroyed hideout, the Time Brigade finds a map. They hope maybe it will lead them to the gang, and in Weasel's house it was dinner time, and the gang sits with the kids and everyone has fun. The food is a bit strange though, as it's made of rats. And all of a sudden things change and Henry appears like magic right at the dinner table. And apparently he's got some bad news. The Time Brigade is close, but before they can do anything, the brigade bursts in. But they didn't expect what came next. The kids, trained and ready, start to fight the Time Brigade. Things turn chaotic when the Time Brigade tosses a bomb towards the kids, and Henry, in a brave move, jumps in front of it. He shields everyone else, but in doing so, he loses his life, and Fox, filled with anger, points his gun at Gilbert. He blames Gilbert for all the mess, and Gilbert just stands there looking sad, ready for whatever comes next. But unfortunately, it wasn't Fox who acts, and the Time Brigade was faster, and they knock out Fox and Ralph. They also take away the weapons from the kids. And before long, the group find themselves inside a massive building where Constance operates. She was very eager to interrogate them, and Alice doesn't hesitate. She addresses Constance directly, and she argues that the Time Brigade is against their mission only because they fear how altering events might impact their own future. But Constance had a trick up her sleeve. She introduces an older version of Alice, and this future Alice has a conversation with her younger self, painting a picture of a challenging future filled with unfulfilling jobs. She also reveals that their dad Gilbert has been deteriorating, and following the loss of their mother, he's turned to alcohol for a solution. And she emphasizes to the younger Alice how every moment with their father is invaluable. After this emotional conversation, both Gilbert and young Alice are transported back to their era. The very next day, as Gilbert is on the verge of endorsing the construction of the nuclear plant, Fox and Ralph face grim circumstances in the future. Constance doesn't go easy on them, and they find themselves sentenced to a mysterious jail where time stands still. On his journey to a crucial meeting, Gilbert's chauffeur engages him in conversation, praising Alice's courage to defy her own father. This sentiment resonates deeply with Gilbert, making him reconsider his actions. Instead of attending the meeting, he heads home to reconnect with Alice, and their heartfelt conversation and the ensuing embrace disrupts the operation at the Time Brigade's HQ. Constance, breaking protocol, instructs her team to ensure that Gilbert attends the meeting and signs the nuclear power plant deal. Recognizing the gravity of the situation and the need for a firm hand, she promotes Victor, a seasoned time officer, to lead this mission. And to ensure their objectives are met, she authorizes him to use the ultimate bargaining chip, forcing Gilbert by holding his beloved daughter Alice hostage. Elsewhere at Weasel's residence, something unexpected happens. Henry wasn't lost to time, and he's been transformed into a robot and functions perfectly. However, there's also a looming threat, a massive menacing storm cloud which approaches, signaling potential disaster. As events unfold, the Time Brigade make their move, descending upon Gilbert's residence. They apprehend him, pushing him to approve the nuclear plant's construction, and Victor, aiming to maintain control, issues a stark warning to Alice, implying harm if she intervenes. And back at the Time Brigade's imposing headquarters, internal conflicts rise. Louise begins to question Constance's motives, and Constance, sensing Louise's wavering loyalty, orders her to transfer Fox and Ralph to a more secure confinement area, and Richard is assigned to assist. But the prison turns out to be a foreboding, chaotic center. And in a shocking twist, instead of incarcerating Fox and Ralph, Louise betrays Richard, pushing him into the dark void. And she doesn't stop there, and she releases Fox and Ralph, even returning their unique time travel device. But things quickly spiral as Ralph attempts to ambush Victor and the device backfires, and Fox, in a separate accident, crashes onto Gilbert's vehicle, sustaining injuries. In the headquarters of the Time Brigade, the atmosphere becomes electric. Louise briskly enters Constance's office, and tensions fill the room. They engage in heated words, leading to a physical confrontation, and Constance, with her formidable fighting prowess, holds her ground, and in a twist of events, she takes out a gun and shoots Louise. Meanwhile, Fox manages to capture a member of the Time Brigade, and in an audacious move, he brings him back to an ancient war. But the situation quickly spirals out of control when Fox's unique time-traveling device malfunctions, and stranded, Fox and the Brigade members are forced into combat. Their battle is suddenly interrupted as a massive warplane looms overhead, releasing a torrent of bombs. At Gilbert's residence, Ralph finds himself in a precarious situation. In a desperate bid for safety from Victor's relentless gunfire, he attempts to use his time machine, but his efforts repeatedly misfire, landing him in increasingly bizarre locations. One such mishap sends him plunging into a swimming pool, and emerging for air, Ralph finds Victor lying in wait. As they tangle, Alice intervenes with perfect timing, launching a bottle that knocks Victor unconscious. But the drama doesn't stop there. Fox is now a captive, and Constance arrives with a singular mission: to ensure Gilbert signs his deal of the plant documents. Over at Weasel's residence, a dire storm looms, drawing closer with each passing minute. Its destructive force is palpable, and Henry, determined to help, embarks on crafting a new time machine for Weasel and the children. But despite his best efforts, it malfunctions. Back in Gilbert's space, the weight of his decision bears down on him as he hesitates with a pen in hand. But in a moment of sheer courage, Alice undertakes a daring act. She time travels, determined to rescue her mom, and the consequences were immense as time itself starts to unravel. Objects and individuals slowly vanish, and amid the chaos, Fox seizes Constance, informing her that she'll lose all memories of this once everything concludes. Gilbert, overwhelmed with emotion, repeatedly calls out Alice's name, fearing that he might forget her. But when time settles, it reveals a reshaped reality where Alice never existed, and in her stead, Gilbert has 2 daughters, and his previously deceased wife is alive. In this new timeline, Weasel, the children, and a robotic Henry have found refuge, and a touching scene unfolds as Fox, Ralph, and Henry, and the very much alive Alice come together. Over shared drinks, they celebrate their victories and newfound companionships, and Alice, with her unwavering spirit, becomes an integral part of the team. And the movie concludes on an uplifting note, providing a glimpse into a hopeful future where the menacing storm has been vanquished, signifying brighter days ahead.